Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report. Coming up here on today's show, let's get into the latest around the general manager news because there is another candidate that the Raiders have requested to interview. Josh Jacobs, is he going to be returning to the Las Vegas Raiders? For people that say yes, well, actually, I kind of got some good news for you. Davante Adams trade rumors are heating up. Find out what Tay did and then did something else. And then the latest here on Jim Harbaugh after the Michigan Wolverines won the Natty. So for those of you that do not follow me on social media, you always should. At Mitchell Renz 365, Ian Rappaport put this out, and I already gave my 2 cents on it on social media a few hours ago. But former Chargers general manager Tom Telesco, who presided over one of the most talented rosters for about a decade, will interview for the vacant Raiders GM job. So with this happening here, I'm going to tell you right now, I think what Mark Davis and the Raiders have done in terms of the names that they have brought in already for their general manager interviews have done a good job. Tom Telesco, I do not think would be a very good hire if the Raiders decided to go this route. I think he was a disaster in a lot of areas of building. I know what Ian Rappaport said in terms of a talented roster, but this was a roster that just always underperformed, in my opinion. So as it stands right now, here are the 6 confirmed names that the Raiders have requested to interview, and you're obviously going to be able to interview Champ Kelly on top of that. But it's Champ Kelly, the interim general manager for the Raiders, Trey Brown, senior personnel executive for the Bengals, Terrance Gray, director of player personnel for the Bills, Ed Dodds, assistant GM for the Colts, Adam Peters, assistant GM for the 49ers, and then Tom Telesco, former GM of the Los Angeles Chargers. To stay up to date on everything going on around general manager news around the Raiders, subscribe. For updates on head coach, subscribe. If you're looking for free Raiders videos every single day, take a second, hit that subscribe button. And what I always tell people is this: it's free to subscribe. I know when some people hear subscribe, they think it's got to be paid. No, watch the show, watch it for a week. If you don't like it, click on sub. Live shows multiple times a week, the entire offseason. We're also going to have a lot of fun here. All right, let's talk a little bit about Josh Jacobs, who missed the last 4 games of the season with a quad injury. Going to be a free agent this offseason. And if Antonio Pierce gets the job, I definitely think that there's a chance that he ends up returning. And, you know, for a lot of people that watch this show, you've heard my opinion on Jacobs a lot, and I've always said good running back. But where the Raiders are at right now, personally, if I was the one running the organization, I would move on from JJ. With that being said, though, if the Raiders do end up bringing back Antonio Pierce, I would imagine that they're going to listen to AP very often. And, you know, if AP says what he did, and for those of you that maybe missed the quote that Pierce said about Josh Jacobs, I mean, for you to say this, that Jacobs is the heartbeat of this team, the heart and soul. When I hear something like that, and you know how close this group is, right? This is a very close Raiders locker room. And the reason is when you deal with somebody like McDaniels, you move on from him and have more success without him, it's going to bring you close. On top of that, Antonio Pierce listens to Josh Jacobs. Jacobs, I know for a fact, was very frustrated with McDaniels, very frustrated with that pass regime because they never listened to him. Now, then again, they never really listened to anybody. I mean, for them to ignore Davante, Crosby, Jacobs, as often as what they did this past offseason, just kind of shows the type of God complex that McDaniels had. But for Antonio Pierce to say that he's the heartbeat of this team and the heart and soul, I mean, it makes me wonder, is he going to be back? So knowing that AP said that about Jacobs, should the Raiders bring back number 8, type B for bring back, type L for let walk? They did try to franchise tag him. They ended up getting a 1-year deal done last year, so you can tag him again. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show, so you're about to get hit with a YouTube ad break. Scroll on down and give me your answer. The only way that I'm going to be willing to bring back Jacobs is if he's willing to take a team-friendly deal, and at that point, I'm saying $7 million is the absolute most I am willing to pay him on a yearly basis. My number that I've been throwing out there is 3 years, $21 million, 14 of that guaranteed, and then I can move on from the second year. Jacobs, so I think, is going to want to try to get more, and if that's the route, I'm okay with it. I'm not going to do everything in my power to bring back Jacobs. Like, I want him back on a team-friendly deal, and if he wants more, let him go out and try to find more. I think Zamir White has shown that he's a capable running back. There's good running backs in the draft. There's some good free agent backs out there that I could add a little bit of lightning to Zamir White's thunder. Coming up here Davante Adams trade rumors. And I feel like every single time I say Davante Adams trade rumors, there's going to be a lot of people out there that roll their eyes, which I get it. I kind of rolled my eyes at first at this too. But then when you see, again, I'm a big believer that actions speak louder than words. Do you agree with that? If you're a believer that actions speak louder than words, well then what Davante Adams did on social media is definitely an action that deserves some words, and I'll tell you what they are coming up here in just a second. But today's show is sponsored by Prize Picks. $100 deposit match when you go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Just make sure that you use code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100. And even though there's no more Raiders football, to me, this is the best time of the year to put down some money on playoff games when you know players are going to be going out there, giving it their all. So if you're not doing anything on Saturday, hey, put your money where your mouth is. If you're not doing anything on Sunday, put your money where your mouth is. If you're not doing anything on Monday night, put your money where your mouth is. And you could do something as simple as putting down $10, have a chance to win some money. 3 hours, you're totally occupied. It's super easy, simple to do. If my dad can do it, I promise you, you're going to be able to do it. All you can do is pick two players. There's a reason why Prize Picks is the #1 daily fantasy sports app out there right now. It is fantasy sports made easy. You just select more or less. And if anybody out there wants to get started, go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and make sure that you use code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100. Now, Chugs and I, as the season goes on here in the playoffs, we will be giving you our picks for all the games. So stay tuned. We'll be giving you some picks coming up later on in the week. All right, so the reason why we're talking about the Davante Adams trade rumors and the reason why they are heating up here a little bit is because of this. So Garrett Wilson and Morstead, the punter for the Jets, posted a picture on social media. Morstead essentially said that he's going to be giving up number 5 and he's going to give it to Garrett Wilson. And the reason why this is notable is because Garrett Wilson was number 17 on the New York Jets, a team that has been rumored linked to going out and trading for Davante Adams, Aaron Rodgers, Adams. Guess what? Adams wears number 17. So with this being said, that means number 17 for the New York Jets is available. Actions speak louder than words, yes? Davante Adams then liked this tweet, liked the photo of essentially it saying number 17 is available. When that happens, obviously everybody starts freaking out of, oh man, the Las Vegas Raiders, Davante, he wants to get dealt to the New York Jets. I see it. I saw it. It's all good. But then also, if you look now at Davante Adams' social media account, Twitter, he has since unliked this post. And he probably, just like a normal human being, which I get sometimes might be hard for people to be able to wrap their mind around, where I bet he saw that and was like, oh, that's really cool. I like that. Click like. What a lot of people see is, oh, number 17's freed up. Davante wants to go to the Jets. I think the fact that he has since unliked it kind of explains the volumes of where he wants to be. Don't get me wrong. If the New York Jets make you a trade offer, you're going to have to listen to it. But I'm not sitting up here saying Davante wants to get traded because I don't think that's the case at all. If you do end up trying to trade Tay, I want 2 first-round picks since his 2024 salary has already been paid. So when the Raiders originally traded a first and a second for Adams, they gave him a 5-year contract at $140 million. They did give him an out clause after 3 seasons, which technically this would be the 3rd season here with the Las Vegas Raiders. But the other thing is they restructured his contract once already, and they have already guaranteed his 2024 salary. So Adams has actually already been paid that 2024 salary. So whatever team goes out and they trade for him, it's already a done deal. Like, they don't have to pay him anything because the Raiders have already paid that 2024 deal. Now, if AP gets the job, I would be shocked if Adams gets dealt. Like, how are you going to keep Antonio Pierce and then you're going to trade away a receiver that stood up into the podium and said, this is the guy that I want back? Like, I don't see that being a possibility. If Antonio Pierce is the Raiders head coach this upcoming season, I can't forecast an area where they decide to trade away Davante Adams. However, though, if you hire a guy like Jim Harbaugh or you hire somebody else not named Antonio Pierce, then anything is on the table. In fact, the only player that the Raiders will not trade away is Max Crosby. Any other player is a trade possibility. Like, that's just a cold, hard fact. I will say this, though. If Davante Adams does end up getting dealt, which it's not an impossible thing to think about. It's not. And if you are the Raiders, you got to know that this is the year that you're going to get the absolute most value out of Davante because after this season, after 2024, his salary cap's at $44.1 million in 2025 and in 2026. My point is this. There's going to be a lot of Davante Adams trade rumors out there. We're going to continue to talk about him here on the show. It's part of the gig, right? But if you do end up trading away 17, you better get your franchise quarterback because if it's not, it's a failure. So would you trade Davante Adams to get a franchise quarterback? Type T for trade or type P for pass. And here's your opportunity to be the GM. And as Chug said, the job is open. To me, I would trade Davante Adams if it meant that I could get a franchise quarterback. And when I say franchise quarterback, there are three names. Drake May, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels. To me, those are the only three franchise quarterbacks in the 2024 NFL Draft. I don't view Bo Nix that. I don't view Michael Penix that. I do not view J.J. McCarthy as a franchise guy. To me, a franchise QB is the moment he steps on that field, he's a game changer and has top 10 quarterback upside. Drake May, to me, is the number one quarterback in this year's draft. Then it's Caleb. Then it's Jaden. If I can move on from Davante and get one of these guys for a good deal, I would do it. I don't want to do it, but it would be a last-case scenario. It would be a break glass in case of emergency, trade Davante to get a franchise guy. Obviously, if I have a quarterback like that, I would want him to have Davante, but I do think finding a franchise QB is detrimental to the Raiders this season. For more programming schedules around the Raiders Report, maybe you're wondering, Mitch, when are you guys going to go live again? I'm going to be live on Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm also going to be live an hour before kickoff of Chiefs versus Dolphins. So we're going to be rooting against Kansas City. We're going to be spamming those FKCs like crazy. And every single playoff game that the Chiefs play, hopefully it's only one, I will be live for. Then, as the playoffs continue to roll, I'm going to be rooting against the Niners every single week, so tune in with me for that. I'm going to be rooting against the Chiefs every single week. If both of those teams are gone, well, then I might have to migrate to a few other teams. But bottom line is Chugs and I are going to be live for the Super Bowl. We're going to be live for the NFC Championship game, the AFC Championship game, and in the meantime, we're going to be rooting against Kansas City. So hopefully you guys tune in and hopefully we take down Kansas City. All right, let's get in now to the latest here around Jim Harbaugh. And there hasn't been an update as of today. And if you didn't watch the game last night with Jeremy and I, Michigan in a total beatdown on Washington, 34-13 to win the CFP National Championship. Harbaugh, it's been reported by multiple sources out there that he is expected to be heading to the NFL, and there's going to be multiple teams that are interested. I know the Raiders are interested. The Raiders have been talking to Harbaugh for about a month now. They've been having backdoor communications, and there's a lot of connections there. Here's the thing, though. The Chargers, they're going to be interested. The Bears, they're going to be interested. Any team that's got an NFL head coaching opening, hell, the Tennessee Titans, they just fired Mike Vrabel. They're going to be interested in Harbaugh. Why? He's one of the best coaches, if not the best coach available right now to be a head coach in the National Football League. So do you want the Raiders to hire Harbaugh? He just won a natty. What do you think? He's won everywhere he's gone. He's won at San Diego, the college. He's won at Stanford. He's won with the Niners. He just won a national championship with the Michigan Wolverines. Do you want the Raiders to hire Jim Harbaugh? Yes or no? I got to know what you guys have to say. For me, I want Antonio Pierce to get the job. I really do. But I look at it as Antonio Pierce and Patrick Graham are a joint deal. Patrick Graham, AP, over Jim Harbaugh. If it's just AP or Jim Harbaugh, I will take Jim Harbaugh over just Antonio Pierce. If you don't get AP and you don't get Jim Harbaugh, the next guy that you got to consider to be your head coach, I'm serious, is Patrick Graham. And then after that, there's some other candidates that obviously you can interview. There's a lot of good coaching candidates in this year's cycle. A guy like a Frank Smith, maybe a guy like a Ben Johnson is another name. Dan Quinn deserves to be looked at. A lot of good head coaches out there for the Raiders, but right now it's a two-man race between Antonio Pierce and Jim Harbaugh.